Hello everybody, it's me, Alice Blue. We're gonna get caught up on all the patch notes that I missed for Embers Adrift while I was away on vacation. Also, I'm sorry if I sound weird, my allergies are kicking my butt. So, this was the patch notes for Wednesday, June 29th. What is new? This week brings a number of bug fixes, a few quality of life additions, and some NPC swimming improvements. The biggest focus this week is troubleshooting the skybox to figure out why it stops progressing time after a while. We have added a number of buttons to the video options, which allow you to reset specific components of the skybox, will greatly aid us in resolving the problem permanently. Please see below for the breakdown and deeper explanation of what we need here. Thanks. Okay, so bug fixes and improvements. Hot fixes from the previous Friday. Fixing issues with some creatures moving after they die. Fixing volumetric fog issues in New Haven. Adjusting NPC weapon ranges to be more consistent. Trade professions now use a title rather than a skill. Forester, Hunter, Prospector. Added a merchant to North New Haven in the tunnel that sells higher level recipes. This merchant is a bit of a mess, a lot of items right now, and it will be better organized in the future. Slight restructure to the hail command logic. It should now properly trigger NPC dialogue if you are within range. Adding code to prevent player rotation when interacting with objects. This is kind of a hack, so let me know if there are any oddities with rotating your character with the right mouse button near interactives. Disabling graphics jobs on Mac clients. This appears to be the cause of sporadic hitching. Please let me know if this tanks your performance. Tech. Screenshots work again. Yay! Fixing issues with skybox initialization that was causing some environmental lighting to not properly activate. Fixing issues with layered audio tracks playing after zoning and overlapping with the wrong primary track. Fixing issues with music tracks unnecessarily restarting when zoning to a zone that shares the same music set list, like Dryfoot and Dryfoot Stronghold. Adding proper discoveries to central veins. For whatever reason, the discovery data for those ember rings was lost, so you never actually discovered them, which means that upon giving up, the server just sent you back to the default ring, which is the fallback if you have not discovered a ring. Water should no longer block line of sight. When giving up while swimming, your bag should appear at the water surface. Adding environment audio slider that controls ambient audio such as wind, birds, etc. independently of effects. Ambient environmental audio tracks have been added back to all the zones, bird chirping, crickets, water drips in the cave, etc. Environmental art. Fixing lighting issue on character selection screen. Fixing lighting in North New Haven tunnel under the wall. Fixing LOD position of wall in South New Haven. Fixing bats not playing their death animation. Extending max view range in Red Shore and Dryfoot. UI. Fixing an exception in the chat input field. Fixing an issue where adding a chat channel after adding text was given an unrecognized command return. Global and zone chat channels no longer accidentally be set as the default channel. Hitting enter after entering in a channel will now switch chat channels and deselect the input box. The logic for this will be improved in a future update. \S is now a shortcut for say. Adding new chat commands: combat, sit, torch, online, AFK, D&D, anon, quit. Okay, I'm gonna have to add those to the list. Items on the trainer that cost 0 will no longer read not enough funds. Fixing tooltip for disable auto attack on death option. Design. Fixing level 10 plus recipes not creating the correct level output item. Update to some Meadowlands and Dryfoot mob levels and positions. This closes the gap between these zones and Red Shore for a smoother zone level transition. Fixing armor drop rate being too high for low-level humanoids. Looking at you, Copperhelms. Adjustments and fixes to rare item stat distributions, including fixins for Soren's Maul two-handed damage bonus. Normalized leather skinning level requirement for each tier of leather. Normalized leather skinning level requirements for each tier of leather. That's a mouthful. Update to some Meadowlands and Dryfoot mob levels and positions. This closes the gap between these zones and Redshore for a smoother zone level transition. New stuff. Npc Swimming Tech. This week I've completely refactored how NPCs swim. Previously I had a special swim trigger at a fixed distance below the water surface which dictated the position of the NPCs in the water. The issue with this is that each NPC is of a different height, and if they are all placed in the water at the same position under the surface, then their animations would not line up. Crocs may be too low, bears may be too high, etc. This refactor set the water surface as the water, and each individual NPC has a swim offset value, which determines how far below the surface the server should place them. Once an NPC enters the water, they detect that the water is above them, and then calculate if they should be swimming or walking based on their height. If they're swimming, we apply an offset to place them at the correct position below the surface so that their animations look correct. This required individual tweaking for each swim NPC, but the results are much more consistent. Humanoids can now swim, but their swim offsets currently do not account for the height differences. A fix to come later on for that. Also note that the nav mesh below the surface can be a bit rough, so NPCs may path a bit odd while swimming. This is a work in progress. Equipped tooltip comparison. When you are investigating the tooltip for an equipable item, a comparison tooltip should accompany it if you have that particular slot filled. This tooltip will only show up if the destination equipment slot is currently filled and you can equip the item, meet the role requirements. For weapons, it will compare to primary or secondary, depending on which you have currently selected. For equipment slots that have multiple places, however, shoulders, bracers, leg guards, it will only compare to the first one it finds. Skybox debugging options. Since moving to the new skybox, some have found that it occasionally gets stuck and stops progressing time. Thanks to the community, we found that changing the quality essentially resets the skybox. I have been in discussions with the author to track down this problem and once again, need your help. I have added 7 buttons to the video options which reset different components of the skybox. What we need from you is to keep a close eye on the /time and keep track of how long it takes the skybox to stop progressing time. Now once that happens, we need to figure out which button fixes it. When the skybox stops responding, open up your video options and press the first button and see if anything fixes itself. If not, move on to the next button and jot down the results. We're basically trying to figure out the culprit by process of elimination. If you find that one of these boxes fixes it, or maybe a combination of these boxes fixes it, let us know which. Don't worry so much about what each of these buttons does, just send along the ones that do the trick. They'll be right here on your options, under video, skybox resets. Okay, also patch notes, or some hot fixes that went along with this. Recipe Merchant now carries level 20 to 30 recipes. Adjusting measurements, adjusting requirements met and not met colors on tooltips. MISC fixes to chat input. Alright you guys, thank you for watching. Appreciate you so much.